I'm Matthew Ross. We're joined here in the booth, by a couple of friendly faces, depending on who you talk to. From Grantland and ESPN, you heard him on Wednesday during the gala with Melnick in the afternoon. It's Mr. Jonah Keri.
Hello, Matthew Ross. It's good to be here with you.
Well, thank you for making the trek all the way up here.
It's a lovely and scenic view of a lovely and scenic stadium.
Dave Kaufman, of course, from the Exchange on CJD and TSN 690.
Hello, Matt. Hello, Jonah.
Hello, Dave Kaufman.
I want to stick my head out the window and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" to everybody.
Well, you're not Harry Carey.
No,
so
and we're not in center field, but still, this is the closest I'm ever going to get.
Well, speaking of center field, Dave, you'll remember this fondly. 2010, when our station brought a bus down to Cooperstown for Dawson induction.
Yeah, we almost died like 6 times on the road.
That is true. But I had no idea. It was quite a treat. John Fogerty performed this song.
That's right.
At center field at Cooperstown.
That's
it doesn't
right.
get better than that.
With his Louisville Slugger guitar bat.
That's right. That's right. He told a story about how it survived some fire or some flood or something to that effect. Yeah. Amazing.
Plague of frogs.
That's right.
It's Passover. You got to keep it topical.
So, one game in the books, one game to go. It was a little perilous this morning with the weather. We didn't know what was going to happen. Evenco certainly said the game is on. It's official. There's no problems with the roof. So that's good to know.
Yeah, there are like 5 million reasons
I
why
literally
that game
didn't think
wasn't
of that.
getting canceled, right?
Oh, it was, people were checking into it this morning, certainly. Yeah.
When I woke up at around 8:39 and saw that it had continued snowing all the way
Yes.
through the night from when we got home last night, I thought about it. I thought, oh boy, this is Montreal baseball weather.
You
isn't
got
it?
home at 7:30 p.m. last night.
That's right.
Said your prayers, had a glass of warm milk, right?
Well, this is after warm milk after a Seder, Jonah? I don't know. Come on.
That's true, yeah.
All right, gentlemen, focus. Friday game, obviously 46,000 in the stands. The pregame show was tremendous. Nice to see, as we talked about it in the last segment, Venko putting a little bit of a Habs feel, if you know what I mean, with the lasers and that. That was fun for baseball. Jonah,
Different.
you've been to all the parks. You ever seen that for pregame?
I had not. It was pretty cool. I mean, we were sitting on the first base side. I guess that the ideal vantage point would be behind the plate because then you can kind of see it going out toward the diamond. But it was neat. I thought that was interesting and quintessentially Montreal. And, quite frankly, if we do bring baseball back here eventually, I think that a little bit of glitz and glamour like that would be great. I just remember, going to the Big O and there were no frills. I mean, not that was such a big deal, and I don't think it was that expensive or whatever, but it was a nice little something. They're going to need nice little somethings to get it done.
Well, no, compared to everything that we've had here, like you said, the no frills over the years, projecting a photo onto the field made it seem like we were in Las Vegas.
That's
something.
right. But you're discounting the year that for opening day that they had Michael Barrett come down from the ceiling. Remember that?
Repelling.
They had him.
The
come
lawsuit-
down from the
They also
ceiling.
used to have a firework go off, I believe, every time a home run was
A
hit.
firework,
That's
yes.
right.
Yeah, that's right. I believe it was actually the streamers that are on the candles, on the cake, the birthday cakes. It is a special pregame show here on TSN 690 live from Olympic Stadium. Reds versus Jays coming up at 1 o'clock as we watch the Reds take batting practice now. The doors opened at 11 o'clock, so if you're making your way down here, hurry up! There's a lot of fans checking out batting practice, and people just, chicks dig the long ball, right? People are looking for the home runs. Our producer here on site, John Collett, every time a ball is near the outfield, that one, no. Everyone wants to see the home run. It's universal.
It's not a home run. Listen, I'm going to put my stats hat on here. This is a very bad park for home runs. The dimensions are pretty deep. The ball carries not great particularly, and the walls are very high. I think we sort of, we were kids, we're like, okay, it's Olympic Stadium, but you needed a rocket launcher to get out of a lot of this park. A lot of doubles in this park. Good for doubles, bad for home runs.
What's the craziest home run you guys saw at this park?
I know exactly. I can go first. Darryl Strawberry. I was there when he hit the
wow.
roof. Opening day 88. I think the only game I've ever been to myself.
Oh, cool.
I went myself. I don't
Only
even,
one, huh?
Yeah, I don't remember the reason why or how. I was always going with my friends or whatever, but I think everybody bailed and just said, well, I'm going. I sat opposite. I sat upper deck on the left field side, and that happened upper deck on the right. So it was almost eye level. You could see it hitting the roof, and I couldn't believe it. That was insane.
I'm trying to remember if I was here for the Grissom Inside the Park home run in, I think it was 1994. Against the Cardinals, I think. I remember it was Reggie Sanders in the outfield. So Reds or Cardinals?
Boo! Boo! Don't charge them out on Pedro.
There
Reggie
you go. I
Sanders.
was going to have you explain the reference for some of our younger listeners. But I think that was one of the crazier home runs, I guess, in in this park. It is not the most glamorous of stadiums. And so, Jonah, I wanted to get another spin on this, which is the mayor came out and said, well, if in the hypothetical scenario that baseball comes back here, the mayor said, they can play here for 3 years. To me, that's a stretch, isn't it?
But you have no choice. I mean, well, actually, you do have a choice. If it's expansion, then there's lead time. They would say, okay, 2017, 2020, you can have a team, so you have time to build a stadium. But if it's relocation, then it has to happen imminently. You don't announce it and then wait 3 years while the poor whatever city is sitting in lame duck land. So
they won't play in San Juan in the meantime? Is that
I wouldn't put it past MLB. Well, actually, it's very Bud Selig. Rob Manfred isn't a clown, so hopefully, shout out to Bud Selig. What? You're the worst. Anyway, so I think it would be fun. Listen, it wouldn't be wonderful to play here, but if you have relocation, you just have no choice. You can't build a stadium in 1 year, and even 2 is really difficult.
You'd be starting on such a bad foot, though.
No. But you mentioned expansion, and this is something that I get the question all the time, and people say, well, is the team coming back here? And my standard answer is yes, in 5 to 7 years. I've been saying that for a year and a half, so I may have to adjust that. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's not coming via relocation. For me, it's expansion. And the fact that nobody mentions expansion isn't a reason to say it's not going to happen. You talk about this, so you're on the record saying that the expansion fees could be exorbitant. They could be close to $1 billion even for a team. Does that mean it's not going to happen? I mean, you have 15 teams in each league. You have to play interleague every single day, which is getting a little tedious if you want all your teams in. Why have separate awards for different leagues, etc.? What's your take on that?
I think all that is thinking pretty small, to be honest. The fact that the fees are high only means that there's a reason that the fees are high. The buy-in is there because it's a very profitable sport. It's a $9 billion industry, and you're paying fees, I guess, but you're mostly making an investment and saying, I want to get access to these profits. So I don't view that as a problem. Stuff like, the schedule, yeah, sure, that's fine, but this is a money situation. The league needs to be compensated commensurately to allow someone into their cartel. That's kind of the bottom line. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I'm just wondering why MLB would expand when there are still franchises that seem to be, at least on its face, struggling. We know that they're actually turning mad, insane profits. But when there's a Tampa or an Oakland, like the situation we have in Oakland right now, I don't see how you bring in more teams into the fold, because then the question still remains. What do we do with Tampa? What do we do with Oakland?
But in the scenario, in the next 12 to 18 months, in the scenario that, Tampa or St. Pete comes to some sort of agreement for a stadium and Oakland somehow figures out the San Jose equation, which may or may not ever happen.
Right.
You're
assuming that a lot gets done, but you're assuming a lot gets done in the next 2 months that hasn't been able to get done in the last 10 years.
No, I said 12 to 18 months.
Sure, okay. You're assuming a lot gets done in the next year and a half
yes.
that hasn't gotten done in the last 10. And that's been sort of one of Bud Selig's real follies towards the end of his reign was the Oakland mess and not being able to figure everything out. Wasn't there a red panel, a blue panel, whatever color the panel is? Red ribbon, blue ribbon panel.
Ooh, blue ribbon.
With a little bit of red trim.
They had a chicken cordon bleu panel. It was delicious. Listen, that depended on local government, and you can only browbeat them so much, and they weren't going to be browbeaten. I think the general sentiment has changed in the way cities interact with stadiums. I think that, say, oh, yeah, we're going to go build an $800 million stadium on public funds, unless you're evil mastermind Jeffrey Loria. That's very difficult to pull off. And so you have to figure out a way. And in Oakland and Alameda County, it wasn't necessarily going to happen. And, even looking long term, since we're talking about here, that's going to be a big question. People talk about income taxes on salaries, and there are ways to get money back, and it's an investment and not a cost. Okay, that's fine. But the optics, same as when Lucien Bouchard shot it down in the 90s. When you still have roads, I come back to the city a couple times a year now. If anything, the roads are worse than when I grew up. The infrastructure is even worse. It's not a great situation. They need billions of dollars for other things. Just the optics of saying, yeah, we're going to build a ballpark for a billionaire is not the best.
We have austerity cuts going on throughout the province right now. There are people marching throughout the streets to protest them.
The mayor got booed yesterday.
The mayor, but that might not be anything more than just, well, let's boo the mayor because he's an authority figure, the way they boo the commissioner when the Stanley Cup's being handed out.
Well, Gary Bettman's the worst. Shout out to Gary Bettman. What?
Bettman and Selig, eh?
Roger Goodell. I got words for him.
Goodell
Adam
segment.
Silver's cool by me.
It is a special pregame show right here from Olympic Stadium on TSN 690. Reds versus Jays coming up at 1 o'clock. Dave Kaufman, Jonah Keri with us. Now, Jonah, you have your book for sale here in the Rotunda. Are you hanging around? You got to go sign. What's your deal?
Yeah, so I am going to go sign right next to the Expos Nation booth, actually. There you go, right back at you. Right between section kind of 116 and 120.
Yep.
There's a merchandise booth there. I'll be there. And at the Expos Nation booth nearby will be the great Anakin Slate. So I'd say do it, too, for go pay your respects over to Expos Nation. Come on over and pick up a copy of Up, Up, and Away, which is the book that I wrote about the Montreal Expos. And it's a lot of fun. You know, I'm a stats guy, but it's not a statsy book. It's about the story of the team, the story of Montreal. And, I mean, I've been on these airways before talking about it, but if you're new to this, it really, truly is a lot of fun. And there really hasn't been an English language book that's told the tale of the whole franchise and done it in a fun way.
I will never get the image of Jim Fanning setting up folding chairs out of my head after reading that book.
Yeah, and I love discovering that stuff because, like, I wasn't born when that happened. So you get the, if you are an older fan and you're listening to this, like, there is good stuff about Rusty Staub in the beginning of the franchise. And if you remember the Expos for Vlad, it's there. Or if you were a Steve Rogers fan, I talked to Steve Rogers for 3.5 hours for this book in his office. He just would not stop
He's
talking.
great, yeah.
He was great. So it was great.
Amazing stuff about the end years too. For me, that was what really resonated. It was you spoke like with Eric Knott,
Yeah.
guys who weren't necessarily the faces of the franchise, but were able to tell stories about just how tough it was to be both a player and a fan at the end of the Expos.